Hi. So today I'm going to be talking about the epistemology of zombies. There's three questions that I'm being asked to answer. First, what are philosophical zombies? Philosophical zombies are not the same what we see in Hollywood or what we kind of stereotypically see them in like Walking Dead. Every single stereotypical zombie trope movie or show where it was a dead human or a live human infected by a virus or bitten by a zombie, um, and then they start being hungry and or for brains. They have different behaviors, walk different, things like that. Another zombie, which David Chalmers mentioned, something voodoo, which essentially is what we think of when we revive the dead. And now to really break it down what a philosophical zombie is none of those, but it's thinking about ourselves, which is exactly the same, but without consciousness. And what I mean by that is let's split myself, Rylan, into A and B. A is Rylan with consciousness. He has and the behaviors of who I am. So I like meat. I like to play basketball. I like to play video games. Study and talk philosophy. Things like that. Now with the B would be not conscious would be exactly all of those behaviors to the T. But I would not be conscious. And when I was watching the David Chalmers video and just how he defined consciousness, which is still also highly debated on, it included some stuff that I've mentioned before, which was the phenomenological experience of like experiencing pain and pleasure. But I think it got honed in a lot and it helped me further understand consciousness a bit more was it's the subjective experience of the mind in the world, and essentially it's what is to like to have a first person experience. And if we could imagine you to have a first person experience of the world, then that would be considered consciousness. So overall, but really, or just to kind of sum it up, philosophical zombies are essentially copies of an individual, but the difference between the zombie and the individual is the zombie does not have consciousness. And it's a thought experiment. The purpose of the thought experiment is, and this is where I struggle with, and I will be honest, this is my second recording on this, because I spent a long pause trying to think about this and to make sure I fully understand it. To keep it short, it's meant to be an argument for dualism. I think now, way I understood it is that we're akin consciousness to just the mind. Dualism is basically that our lives are split into mind and body. Body being the physical realm, and mind is kind of where our mental processes, the way we think, the intellect, all exists. While we say it's like it's in the brain, it's I think kind of getting into this different type of metaphysics and way it works. And the overall purpose is to show, right, like that is to be an argument against materialism, which believes there's only the body. It's just presenting an argument for the mind now, in both ways. And a way it is similar. So the last question is, how is the epistemology similar to Descartes? To Descartes' argument for existence of God in the Meditation 5 is, I believe it's trying to present an argument of what we can and cannot conceive of. And the way Descartes tried to present it was we cannot conceive of God not existing as him being perfect, and perfection consists of his existence. And further, he approaches with ideas of like us with a triangle, and that although stereotypically, we know the triangle to be three sides, add up to 180 degrees. It is possible we could conceive of a triangle that's not three sides. It has all this other aspects. That's not what a triangle is. But then getting down to it, when we reduce the thought and really trying to find an answer or showing what a triangle is, we would not find this made up version we said of a triangle to be like 10 sides, 300 something degrees, making it up, etc. And I think connecting it back to with Descartes is he's saying that with God, as God has given us the ability to perceive things clearly and distinctly, and we perceive him clearly and single, where we can not conceive of a world where he doesn't exist, therefore making his existence true. I think it's similar with this argument of can we conceive of a zombie or not? And if we do, it leads to X arguments. If we don't, it leads to Y arguments or conclusions. Now, to kind of continue on this, at least for me personally, I struggle and couldn't conceive of a philosophical zombie. And I think from David Chalmers' video, add on was the subjective experience of mind and world. I do remember us learning and just talking about how consciousness is meaning of what it is to be you or to be. And I guess I struggle with that thought. And now, further thinking about it, okay, it's this be able to have subjective first person point of view. And I mean, I feel like I could try to imagine what it is like to be a rock, but then that would have too much human influence, human perception of me thinking I'm a rock when I'm not a rock. And that's where I think further this gets weird is what can we imagine of? And I think what's nice about the philosophical zombie and conceiving of it is that it's still a human at the end of the day. So it's supposed to be the same as us. But now, if I'm saying again, going back to this definition of phenomenal consciousness, I just wonder, can I truly know or imagine the experience of what it's like to be a cat or dog? I want to say yes, but as I've been getting more into this discipline, I say no. And then I segue off of this a bit because I tend to ramble, but it's definitely very interesting how this presents an argument for both materialism and dualism. From the video from David Chalmers was first. Sorry, I'm trying to find it. Is that if we take on the materialist view, how would I put this? If we were taking on the materialist view that consciousness comes from biology, which it says here, materialists who think here, just to directly quote the video from David Chalmers, the materialist view. First, materialists who think consciousness is biological may say data is a zombie. And the second, materialists who think consciousness is computational may say data is conscious. I found that very interesting that it compromises with the whole philosophical zombie. And then further, what dualism is supposed to be presenting is like it works with their argument as well. First, dualists will say it is conceivable and possible that data is a zombie. The second, but property dualism is compatible with AI systems being conscious. Now, I know I'm directly taking that. I did not talk about at all AI or data from Star Trek, but I guess where I'm trying to get at is I get that philosophy is like meant to look and examine all positions, and it was very interesting where by presenting the philosophical zombie, if you accept it or you don't, there's still two views with materialism and it aligns with it or correlates with it. And if you accept or don't for dualism, it also still correlates with it. And it still gets me back to this thing where what the hell do we know about consciousness? Um and I guess to end it off, I guess I personally say I cannot necessarily imagine a philosophical zombie, but I think that has to do with mainly us being human and being able to empathize and understand from the perspective of a human, which makes it even more harder. If it was like a cat, a philosophical zombie cat, I think that might be a different story. Thank you.